Okay, so Be'ezus Hashem, we finished the mimer that we were learning for the previous couple of weeks, and we're going to jump into the next mimer Gimel on Lecha Dodi from the Sefer Yichud Shabbos by Rav Kluger, whose Torah we've been learning in different formats in this series, also Monday night with the Yichud Asvodada series for the women. So we've also been learning from Rav Kluger there, and as we're going to see, I think even more so in this piece than any of the previous pieces that we've seen from this tzaddik, the Torah that he teaches is a very relatable and relevant nusach, a very relatable format and message that gives us the impression that he really understands, where we are and what we need to hear. So we're going to see that tonight by Ezras Hashem. This piece is a little bit, I would say, simpler. It flows better than the previous piece, which was big ideas, and obviously we spent a lot of time on each and every nekuda. We spoke about Geula, we spoke about the yichud between Ish and Isha, Shchinta begalusa, and what that means for the Shechina to get out of Galus. Spent a lot of time on all these concepts, and so now we're it's a lot. We'll see. I don't know if we can do the whole mimer tonight, but we're going to try to get through as much as we can and let it flow, all b'siyata d'shmaya, and with incredible gratitude to each and every one of you for being here. It's a very, very special thing that all of us gather together in this place to get in touch with Yiddishkeit in the deepest way.
This is Rabbi Kluger. I mean, the Ana Bechoach was it?
That's Rav Sasson. Yeah, this is Rav Kluger, is a different sefer. Yeah, from Ramat Beit Shemesh. It's called the Yichud HaShabbos.
Especially Shabbos.
Yeah, and we've learned earlier in this series. We learned a shtickle from him about the Shabbos candles, and Anyhow, okay. Says Rav Kluger Shlita as follows: Kfar Nezbar, we've already explained. Ki erev Shabbos hu eis baya Shechina Kedosha yotzes me'agalus. Erev Shabbos is the time when the Shechina, when the indwelling presence of a Kodesh Baruch Hu yotzes me'agalus is going out from an experience of exile, which we explained as a state of estrangement, meaning an experience of a thing, in this case the Shechina, being not where it's supposed to be, or not how it's supposed to be. That's called Galus, right? That's the Hagdara of Galus. In the more standard sense, we speak about Am Yisrael being in exile. We're away from our land, right? And maybe now we're partially coming home, and we're going through the birth pangs of that process in many forms. But generally we speak about Am Yisrael being in exile, so we are away from where we belong, right? From our home, from the place where we belong. That's generally how we speak about Galus. In this context, we're speaking about the Shechina, which is the presence of Hashem that can be experienced in this world, in this life. Thank you for coming. Being in Galus in the sense that it's not in the state of being recognized. And we had a whole shiur about that. Remember? We spoke about quantum physics and how our observation can actually change the Metzius in a certain way. That was that whole shiur about Shechina in Galus and how to redeem it, so to speak. But what does it mean the Shechina is in Galus? It's not something ontological. It's not something relating to the Shechina itself. It's subjective. It means that humans aren't yet living in a state where they're able to recognize the Shechina. If all of Am Yisrael, and by proxy the whole world, which we spoke about 2 shiurim ago, would be on the level where they're mamish recognizing all of nature as mamish being a revelation of Elokus. So instead of Hateva, which means nature, it's the same gematria, of course, as Elokim. We recognize that this is another form of the divine revealing himself, Kiviyachol, through every experience that we think is normal or natural, or right, that this is all mamish, an experience of the divine. And there are many different ways of developing that perspective. So if we were all living in this way, the Shechina would be out of Galus. Because it would be in its state of what? Of being recognized.
Or we would die.
What's that?
We would Yotzei Muslim, no? That's by Har Sinai, no? That's an awesome revelation where...
Then, Adarabba, the Shechina is revealed in such a way where it's dafka through the lived experience. By Maimon Har Sinai, there was a Giloi Noira'a of Kutsha B'richu. That's synonymous with the Torah. That's something else.
Because we weren't Kalim.
That's right.
To the Shechina,
Shechina medaberes b'soich groinai, but that's the point. It spoke b'soich groinai, right? Meaning within the framework of our world. That's what the Shechina means, lishkon, right? It's what dwells down, so to speak, down in our experience of what appears to be a world that conceals the presence of the divine. That's Shechina and Galus.
But in a way, actually, it's already Megilloi, because it just speaks in a language we don't understand. But the language is there. God speaks through the Hestapolim. That means He speaks.
That's what we're saying.
That means that there's no more.
That's what we're saying.
The relation is already here.
That's exactly what we're saying.
So
that's exactly what we're saying. So Shechinta begalusa, like I mentioned, isn't something objective, right, about the Shechina, but it means that because of something we're doing or not doing, the Shechina Mamela is in a certain state, and that state is called Galus. That state is that we haven't recognized, and therefore we haven't, let's say, activated it. But it's there. It's all of us. It's literally us. It's you, and it's you, and it's all of us in our guf, and certainly our nefesh, with all of the capacities of the neshama to see and to hear and to speak and to feel. What is that? It's in the void. All this is in the luft. The toila eretz al blima, we say on Rosh Hashanah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the worlds al blima. Like there's this whole thing is a pella. It's a wonder. All of these concepts, a wonder. There was a philosopher called Sartre. That getting into now a little bit of philosophy, but Sartre. One of the things that Sartre writes about is in one of his novels is sometimes being seized. At least certain individuals can be seized by a feeling of strangeness, right? Which he called the absurd. And other philosophers speak about this also, existentialist philosophers, which is very, very important. I think I mentioned this previously. Not that people should be Isaac. Let's say I have a certain yitzhar for this stuff, but I find it useful also. Hopefully I can bring it into Kedusha to some. I mean, we're speaking about it in a shiur, right? But you can get stuck there also, so it's not for the faint of heart. But this concept of being seized by this sudden sensation that all of those things that we thought were known or like we were accustomed to is just in a flash. It's like, what is this? I think one of the examples that he gives, or maybe the example, is a person I think is on a train, and he's just standing next to a seat. He had put his things away, and he puts his hand on the chair, and he's immediately seized by this strange thing that looks like one thing flat this way and one thing up this way, and he has to sort of re-educate himself. Oh, this is a chair. Like this is where this supports people who sit. But ki'ilu, it's a strange thing. Like there's a strangeness of a chair. I once had this experience personally, walking down a set of stairs. I was suddenly seized. I'll never forget this because it was such a strong experience. I was seized by the strangeness of directionality. The concept, I was just going down and down and down a staircase. The concept of down. It's a pella. Just the dimension of depth. Again, if we sort of strip away the illusion of nature, like, okay, this is this world, these are the parameters, but lav dafka, and this sensation could seize the ma'amin, the person that sees, not sees as Seize. Now I'm saying the person who sees the world with the recognition that hateva is mamash elokim. You can have it just by looking at another person in the face, seeing eyes. Pella, eyes. What are eyes? I just gave a whole shiur yesterday on the concept of the face. Posted at some point. What is the face? What is a nose? Stam, it's pasha to you that a new baby is born. Okay, so of course he has a nose. What's a nose? You're going to look at your little baby. You're going to hold him. Hopefully not too long at night, but you look at that little face. So we've become accustomed to this, that the human face looks this way. But it's strange. It's essentially strange. Because lav dafka, it has to be this way. What is a beard? Not that there's a beard. But I'm saying, I'm trying. But let's say for the rest of the chaver that actually have beards. What is that? What is that hair coming down from here? What like mazeh? Mazeh. So this is what it means, like we're saying, Gilui Shechina is the sudden revelation that all of that which we think is natural, wonder of wonders. Pile plaim. Now, to the philosopher, the secular philosopher, that has a moment like that, what are you going to do with that? Like, well, he has nowhere to put it. He has nothing to attribute it to, and it's a doorway to nowhere. It's just, it confirms his suspicion that all this is totally meaningless, chas v'shalom, and that there's, less din v'less dayan, and etc. But to the mamin, to the person who's plugged into emunah, especially in the way that we're learning it, who not only might randomly have this sensation, but actually can bring about this sensation by taking life slower and really being mispoining on things. From this standpoint, it's a Pesach, it's a doorway into the realm of the Shechina. And this is Rabbi Nachman's radical expression. Great to see you, Rabbi Yitzi. Thanks for coming. There's another chair. There's a chair. This is Rabbi Nachman's radical expression, which he brings in Likutei Moharan, where the tzaddik says, "Ube emes, ein shum teva ba'olam klal." The Rebbe says there is no nature. There's nothing called nature.
But nature in his eyes is what? Is nature something which is not worth? It's just a piece of gunish.
No, lahepech. To Rabbi Nachman, nature is a gilui elokus. But there is no such thing called nature.
What is the non-good nature in the eyes of Nachman?
Weiter. That somehow there's going to be the gilui la'asad lavai by Yamahu Yashem echad u'shmai echad. But to Rabbi Nachman, he was able to say ein shum teva ba'olam klal. Even though we experience nature, and certainly vis-a-vis nisim gluyim, we can agree. But that's just that there's an experience of miracles that are spontaneous from time to time, and then there are the miracles, which, by the way, we mention every single day, 3 times a day in Shemana Esrei, va'al nisecha shebechol yom imanu, va'al nifla'esecha v'toivesecha shebechol eis. Erev v'vaykar. That's literally what we're saying. The whole thing is nisim. And we get sunk down and think that we're far from Hashem, when, like my Rebbe of Weinberger says again and again, we're swimming in Elokus. We're swimming in Him, kiviyachol. But it means to develop the eyes of emunah. And when a person is looking at the world through the eyes of emunah, the Shechina is not in Galus. The Shechina is exactly where it was meant to be. Meaning to say, we're fulfilling the purpose of the world, which was created for the purpose of giving us the bechira, either to ignore this and live in the world of teva, as if, and that's when we become cynical, and that's when we become sophisticated, and that's when we have to seek peak experiences that are outside the quote-unquote norm, because the norm is boring, because ki'ilu, like, we're used to life, or we have the freedom to live like children. That's the lost princess, right? The freedom to live with eyes of freshness, eyes of his chanshus and renewal. Sure.
The thing is not switched on. Shall I switch it on?
Thank you so much. Wow, that's so kind of you. Thank you. Saved the day. Cholesterol, gewalt. Okay, fine. Let's go back inside. Yeah, you had a ha'ara? You had a ha'ara to make?
No, so you said about nisim. These are all miracles. It's just some are more like slapping in your face saying I'm a miracle, and some are quieter miracles.
That's right. That's right. That's why I mentioned in relation to nisim gluyim. Obviously, we give it a different hagdara. It's different parameters, obviously, right? But that doesn't make it any less
like an
nice.
artist is going to walk. He's going to see a piece of art in every tree, in everything he sees. Someone else is going to go by the same thing. The art is still there. He's just unaware. He doesn't know how to see it, and he thinks, "Oh, it's just a wall, and it's just a."
Exactly right.
Completely unaware.
Exactly right.
Someone's nest nister can be another person's nest nigla, and someone's nest nigla isn't even somebody else's nest nister.
Exactly. That and isn't that, again? We have to go back there, but isn't that the nakuda of the Megillah? Megillah Esther is all that, right? Megillah Esther is either the greatest nes nigla that anybody ever saw, hey yois that it's nister, or it's literally just coincidence. And that is it, and that's why Purim is the pinnacle in a certain way. V'lo yavor ksiv. Purim is Chuasa Ma'isa Lanetzach. When all the other Chagim are Nisbatel, the essence of Yiddishkeit is Purim. In a certain sense, Purim is the Yom Tiv or Chag encapsulation of the Gemara that tells us that Bach Habakuk v'hamidan al achas, like when there's nothing left else in Yiddishkeit, what else is left? V'tzadik be'emunah sayichya. And that essentially that's what we're saying about them, about Purim. That when all the other Chagim, that they're not the Inyan, right? But Purim will be forever and ever. Ju'asam hayisa lanetzach, like the Ariyah Kodesh and the Mefarshim say that la'asid lavai, just Purim. Because that's this point. Emunah. In addition to all the other aspects of it, but I would say that this is a really, really important one. That's our avodah in this generation. And here I just want to make this point clearer, more clear, clearer, and then we'll go a little bit weiter. I'm trying to work on my British accent. Anyway, so don't. I have to communicate with my kids somehow. So I just want to make this point clear, that the avodah in our dar is dafka not to recognize per se the Yad Hashem in the big things, in the nisim gluyim, which by the way might not be so abundant. You look around, I mean, it's there's a big Hester Panim. But daika, specifically in the small things. Rav Kook writes that to the same degree that a Yid has to say, Marabu Masach Hashem, and be overwhelmed by the great miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings into the world, and be overwhelmed by the incredible Giluyim of Elokus. He says, Kach be'oto, otzma, he says, or beroiv hishtoimamus, with the same degree of bewilderment or astonishment, you have to say, and of course this is not a pasuk, but this is his formulation, Makatnu Masach Hashem. How incredibly intricate every blade of grass needs to be as overwhelming to me, as, to use Sartre's expression, as absurd, but in the sense of not natural, not normal. It has to be as revelatory to me as anything else. The simplest thing. I don't have it here. I brought it last week, but the book that I have, Be'ezus Hashem, coming out, From My Heart to Yours, I read a little bit of it last week. So one of the sections over there in the musings section, which is the second part of the book, I had a whole essay about the first time that our son Shmuel Shmalka reached out his hand for a high five. He was 1.5 years old, whatever it was, and we couldn't believe it. It was a Gilui Atzum. It was the first expression of this little baby reaching out beyond himself, to do it was mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing. And I was reflecting on this. A lot, because we were so, it mamish made our week, we couldn't believe it. We thought we had a genius we were raising, which maybe, but I was thinking about it more later in the day, and I said, essentially, there's nothing more mind-blowing about him doing a high five than two teenagers walking past each other in the high school hallway, giving each other high fives. It's just that we've come to expect. But this experience of one human being sticking out his hand with all of what that connotes, not to go too deeply into a high five, but it is a deep thing. It means there's some level of contact, there's some level of reaching beyond, there's some level of one consciousness recognizing another consciousness and choosing to want to mark it, by this experience. Oh my gosh, we've just become accustomed to life. Hanukkah is also about this, by the way. I didn't want to give the whole shiur about this point, but it is important. Hanukkah is all about this. Hanukkah is all about the nisim that are just hidden in the dark. Hanukkah brings back the ma'ar einayim. Hanukkah is the or haganuz, right? It's the light that's hidden in the Torah, and the Torah is hidden in creation. It's the light that's there waiting to be discovered. When everything else is vitimu kol hashmana, when everything else has just been desecrated by the Greek, right? The Greek cynical, stoic approach to life, where there's no wonder and there's, nature doesn't point beyond itself. Everything is just physical, and Hanukkah is ar. L'chol b'nei Yisrael haya ar b'mayshvaisa. Right, what it says by the Yidden in Mitzrayim. To live with light. Mamish light. To live in a world that's lichtig, that's lit up. And that's why the Zman for Hanukkah lighting is Misha Tishkach Hachama, from when the sun sets, Ad Shetichla Regel Menashuk, which literally means until the people have stopped walking, presumably because that's pursuing Isa. And different machlokes about how that applies today, and etc. But the tzaddikim say, the Kedusha Slavi and others, that the Hanukkah experience, the lighting of the Hanukkah menorah, is supposed to accomplish for us that even if the sun set for you in your life, Mishatishka Achama, the lighting of the menorah and the experience of rediscovering Or in a Greek world of cold philosophical stuckness is Ad Shetichla Regel Minashuk. The word regel can mean feet, but it could also mean regilus, hergel, regilut, which means what you become accustomed to. So Ad Shetichla Regel, until all of that which you thought you became accustomed to is just normal, natural, teva, Ad Shetichla, it's gone, because you know where it came from, Minashuk. That's not a Jewish concept. We picked that up from the shuk. We picked that up from the gas, from the street. Because the Jewish consciousness is to live with childlike wonder and simplicity. Wonder and simplicity. This is exactly Yaakov ish tam. Tmimus pshitas. That's what it means to be a Yid. Okay, we did exactly 4 lines. So let's please go back inside now. Huh?
A Yidel, like the Yid, is always like little.
Simple.
Like a little person wants to learn, wants to be inspired.
That's it.
And yet, 2 little years is Hashem's name.
That's it.
B'diuk. Okay. Now that we've learned Kala Torah Kula, let's go back inside and take a look at the end of the 3rd line. And the whole Lecha Dodi is founded on this idea of the Shechina leaving Galus. Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha Kumitzi Imitay Chafecha. Again, we're just reading and translating. Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha, the city of the king, or the temple of the king, palace of the king, and the city of sovereignty. Kumitzi Imitay Chafecha, rise, escape, Mitay Chafecha, from the upheaval. Ravloch Shabbos be'emek habach, you've been sitting for so long in the valley of tears. V'hu yachman alai chemla, it's come time for our Kodesh Baruch Hu to have mercy. His snari mi'afakumi, shake off the dust. Arise, live she big day sefar techami. Wear your clothes of glory, Ami, my nation. Al Yad ben Yishai, Beis Halachmi, by the hand of ben Yishai. It's a reference to David, Malka Mashiach, Beis Halachmi from Beis Lechem, Karva al Nafshi Ga'ala. Karva al Nafshi, Rebbeinu Shalom, come close to my soul. Ka'ala, redeem my soul. And the same thing applies to the context of the way that we were understanding Galus. So then flip it, and the same thing applies to Geula. If Galus just meant something that isn't the way it's meant to be, so then what's the definition of my nefesh being nigla, redeemed? How would I say that in Moshe? Nigal? Yeah? Okay, whatever it is. No one knows, apparently, just suggesting. But what would it mean for the soul to be redeemed? This pasuk. Karva al nafshi. Rebbeinu Shalom, you know when I'm in Geula? Karva al nafshi, when I'm close to you, when you're close to me. That is Ga'ala, that is redemption. That's when I'm in my place, when my neshama is where it's meant to be. When it's close to Hashem. When it's living in recognition of the divine. Hisayri, wake up. Kiva ayre, kumi ayri, the time has come, the light has come. Kumi ayri, Arise, shine, uri uri shir daberi, awaken the song of my words, kavod Hashem alayich nigla, because the presence of God will become or has become revealed upon you. Then we move into the second part. Don't become embarrassed. Call me. Why should you be so bent over? Why should you mourn? Within you will take refuge all the paupers of our nation. And we will build the city on its foundation. Okay, that's Lecha Dodi. And we're going to understand now the whole Lecha Dodi speaks about, like we mentioned last week, the wedding kiviyachol between the feminine aspect and the masculine aspect, the aspect of Mekabel, which is Olam Hazeh, and the aspect of the Mashpia, which is the Olamais Ruchniim, the spiritual realms beyond, which are the source of the Gilui of Hashem. And those things are coming together in a great wedding, in a great unity. HaMeir u'mizgala b'chol ishmi Yisrael b'Shabbos Kodesh, which is revealed within each and every Jewish person on Shabbos. Shabbos u'kamashal l'shchina k'daisha. And again, he's just reviewing. Shabbos is likened to the Shechina, which is the Kala. V'nefesh Yisraeli kamashal l'kutzurichu. We said that each and every Jew, we are the chassid, so to speak, to Shabbos. Right? And we're mashpia to Shabbos, and Shabbos is mashpia to the 6 days of the week, and Hashem is mashpia to us all, and there's a great yichud taking place, a great unification, a great reconnection between the process of all different kinds of processes as they've extended away from their intention and reconnecting to their motivating energy. Reconnecting to their purpose, reconnecting to their source, reconnecting to their premise, and in so doing, being re-energized, being recalibrated. It's a word that GPS has gifted us with, right? Recalibrating. It's a wonderful word. Shabbos is a recalibration, right? It's when all of us that have went on our way, we go back to the Makar, which we refer to in Shemona Esrei on Shabbos when we say that Shabbos is called Tachlis Maaseh Shamayim Va'aretz, which means Tachlis is the purpose, the ultimate purpose of Maaseh Shamayim Va'aretz. That's what Shabbos is. It's a flash. Chemdas Yamim, right? It's a flash in the forest, like the mashal of Hashem and other tzaddikim when a person's walking in a forest and just for 1 second he's lost and lightning flashes and everything lights up and then it goes away. But in that 1 second, you sort of get your bearing until the next lightning flash. And that's week to week. We get plugged in again. Why are we here, B'chalal? What does it mean to be in this world? Chaver, it's a pele that we're here. We're upstairs, going back to the directionality. It's a strange thing. We're up. What's up? Like, what is this? We're sitting on top of people. People are down. There's up and down. There's directions. There's expansivity. There's space. The whole thing is absurd. It's bizarre. Everything here. The human being is a gilui nifla of Elokus. Animals of different kinds, every aspect of the natural world, every law of physics that we become so used to, that stam kacha, things work the way they do. Certainly now that within the realms of science is being revealed utter mysteries on like we said, on the micro level, complete mevuchos gedolos in terms of how to understand the way that things work, why things work the way that they do. Insights deeper into psychology, right? Deep chachmas. Probing the depths, the mystery of the human. Pile playim, wonder of wonders. Wonder of wonders, this life. So this yichud is taking place to help us plug back into the realization that the whole purpose of us being here is to live life in this way. Okay. Now we're going to speak about the process of the yichud that takes place, that is nirmaz, that's hinted to in Lecha Dodi. How it is that creation is awakened, latzeis, to escape, to leave, mimatzav hagalos, from its state of exile, of the 6 days of the week, when it's so much more difficult to live in this way, because taka, we're living in a world of ishtadlos, and we're living in a world of parnasa, and we're living in a world of the natural. Al matzav hagula likra Shabbos l'chuvanelcha. right? The matzav of Shabbos, which is a flash of a completely different way of being.
So it is an assumption that we have to be aware of the Bria come from. Making an assumption that we have to be aware of the Bria on Shabbos.
The way that I'm reading it is not that we are ma'irim, but ketzad ma'ir, how the Bria is awakened. But I haven't seen this in a while, actually. So let's see what he says, and then we'll understand Lamafreya what he meant. Okay. All the stanzas, in the context of a poem, batim is like the lyrics. The stanzas are in Lecha Dodi are founded on the psukei nechama shem neviim. Many different psukim of consolation in the neviim. Bahem ma'or hanavi, that using these words, the Navi is inspiring Klal Yisrael aval yita'amu b'cheshchas hagalos, not to become closed, trapped in the darkness of exile. Ki achein hagalos eina lenetzach, reminding them it's not forever. It's not forever. Not bechlal, not as it relates to the Jewish nation, and not befrat, not for each yachid, for each individual. Oid yavai eis doidim, the time will yet arrive. Eis doidim, the time of the beloved soulmates. Ba ya'ir karnam shal Yisrael, when the Jewish nation will shine in the way that we were intended to shine. Yashuv aliyas b'tifartam, and we're going to again be elevated and activated in the way that we were always meant to be. In the way that Galus never allowed us to be, but in the way that literally us, in this kind of learning, being a part of this kind of tnuah, this kind of movement toward depth in Yiddishkeit, toward feeling in Yiddishkeit, this is part and parcel of the Gula. This is part and parcel of activating our experience of Torah and mitzvahs in a way that our grandparents couldn't have dreamed of. They didn't have. A level of depth, a level of experience, a level of compassion, a level of openness, v'chulei. Right? That this is Gula. This is what the Nevi'im are telling us. So we begin with a snari me'afar kumi, shake off the dust and arise. Livshi bigdei sefartech ami. Change your clothing. Put on garments of splendor. Shehu kol kairi ala shchina kadosha, which in a certain sense is calling out to the shchina latzeis me'agalos. Reveal yourself. Umuvan, and it's understood. Sheyesh kan chelik avoida hashayich ela mitzad hamekabel. Okay, but so then this sort of speaks to what we were saying, Rabbi Yitzi, right? It means that there has to be some way of bringing about this reality, right? Mitzad hamekabel. What are we doing to help the Shechina reveal itself? But again, it's really not the Shechina doing anything. Because again, the Shechina is where it is. It's all happening in here. So what we're saying when we say Hisnari me afar kumi is we're davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give us the ability that we should be zeicha to live life in such a way where memela that will cause for the Shechina to no longer be in a metaphoric matziv of being covered in dust. But that's on us.
We're not talking to Shabbos?
That's on us. Over here we're talking to the Shechina, right? To the indwelling presence of Hashem. Let's see how he says it. And then we reveal his ayri, awaken ki va'ayrech. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a day. That on this day there's a gilui atzum, there's a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, guided by the halachas of not working and not using electronics and not being Isaac in the world of asiya, in the world of production, or even in the world of taking away. We don't destroy, we don't build, we leave things as they are. And that construct enables us, it gifts us the capacity to walk into a space, into a realm, where in that space, there's a Gilu Shechina. Hashem gifted us Shabbos, the day that we can live with recognition of the Shechina Kedoshim. Right? And that's what he's saying. All that's left is just to open the eye and to see it. It's already there. It's already there. Anybody ever watched, you don't have to admit it, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, saying it's not the worst chait in the world, There are others I could list, but Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a very beautiful song in there that I actually quoted in my first sefer, Sparks from Berditchev. I have in one of the parshas there, this stanza. And there's a line in there that's very beautiful that says, if you want to view paradise, right? Remember how it goes? If you want to view paradise.
Reach out and take it, or something like that.
I don't know, that could be the Lubavitch version, I don't know. It goes like this. It says, simply look around and view it. Right? Very close. Different nusach. Simply look around.
It will be a shiur on it. It will be a different shiur.
And view it. It's just such a powerful line. If you want to view paradise, so everyone says, where do I need to go? Rav Weinberger speaks about you have to make some kind of trip to this cave of a tzaddik and this place, and all these things are wonderful, obviously. But also there's a way where you're already there. And when we say there, we don't just mean physically, although that's also true. Spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, we're always looking for the next thing. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us in a certain sense, well, not really HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Gene Wilder, whatever, whoever it was who played that, but whoever wrote the music for it.
Hashem said it to
Yes,
us.
exactly. Shechina medaberes b'soich. Right, lahavdil. If you want to view paradise, don't go anywhere. Simply look around and view it. And this, by the way, is the same thing what Chazal tell us about Hagar. Hakol b'cheska sumin. Right? Remember Hagar? Where she's going and there's no water to drink. The well was right there the whole time. But our eyes weren't open. So much so, again, that the Gemara tells us, literally, and this is the Lashon, Hakol b'cheskas sumin. Everyone is blind. Ad she'ya'er einem, until HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them the ability to open their eyes. And opening your eyes doesn't mean in the sense physical. It means what's called the Einei HaSeichel. Like the Pasuk tells us about Adam and Chava v'tipakachna einei shneim. Their eyes opened up, says Rashi. What is it? It's a lashon of Havana. What's that?
The point of passed upon him that the Aliquis is not so like posher and everything.
Only for the purpose of Bechira. Certainly there's Bechira. Everything we're talking about is not easy. It's the avodah of life. But the simply part, right? Meaning if we're darshaning what we not even effortless because it could take a very long time and we have to build up the muscle of emunah. What we mean by simply is that the alternative is not just more difficult, meaning the alternative of thinking I have to get there and go there and etc. It is impossible. Meaning to say, kol zman, and this is a deep nekuda, kol zman that a person is still stuck in that moichin, they are assured to never get there. Let me be clear. All the while that the person is still in the mentality that in order to get to paradise, kiviyachol, I need to go to this place and I need to reach that madriga and I need to learn this and I need to have this smicha and I need to etc. 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 That kind of mindset is already itself a mania to opening up to this consciousness itself. So the other alternative doesn't mean simply look around and view it, halavai, right? But the only way to do it is simply, meaning the only way to do it is realize that it's in the pshitos, it's in the simple fact of living, which it turns out is not simple at all, and isn't a fact in the way that it's something we could assume is natural, normal. It's a pele. It's a pele that this is a fact. Any fact is a wonder already. And echanami, it's a fact. But the fact that it's a fact is a pella. Science doesn't do. Once we know a fact in science, no, it's a fact. It's a fact, right? No scientist ever blew his mind over the fact, that there's something called gravity. That again, if I pour from here, it goes down to the. But okay, I get it. It's different than the Red Sea, splitting. I understand. But the fact that that's a fact is a total wonder. Again, mehecha tesi. Like, where did this come from? Gravity. Why are we so used to this? Why doesn't it blow our mind? Not just when we experience gravity per se, it's a mashal, but any facet of the human experience. Every facet. The fact that I can move my hands like this is a wonder. The fact that I have thoughts in my mind, which I don't know what they are, and I can't even find them, and if they do all the MRIs in the world, they cannot find where is the thought. Like, what is it? Can you hold it? Can you smell it? Can you sense it? With what can you detect the substance of a thought? And I can somehow, with the electricity, whatever this is, the neurons firing off in my brain, I can think coherent thoughts that are intelligible, I hope, to some degree, and then I'm able to bring them down into my klei adibur, And my body is able to coordinate all these things without me even thinking about them consciously. My breath, and then my vocal cords, and then the different parts of my mouth in order to form words that are intelligible to your ears. And your ears are able to take these sound waves that are flying through the air and are able to bring them into your brain and are able to decode them in such a way where Pilei Plaim. So this is the Avodah. This is the Avodah. The Avodah is the here and now, and the more that we go searching for big experiences, which again, in a certain way, that's also part of the human experience. To like once in a while, again, we should go to holy places, and there is an inyan like that. Simply look around and view it. Paradise is here.
The concept of tzaddik being grounded where you are.
That's right.
From the space rather than going further out.
Bidiyuk.
I was always spoiled when it says Yosef Tzaddik was interpreting the dream of Paro. Like, you have to, first of all, a dream, to say my own dream, I have to verbalize what the imagination in my head. And then he only hears the verbalization, he doesn't see the dream, and he interprets it the right way. That I always found very fascinating. Incredible,
you're right. Like, where is a dream? Even the fact of dreams. Where did the dream happen? Where is it? What is it? Pilei Plaim. Okay. So now let's go a little bit weiter. Right, but here's what he's saying, right? Simply look around and view it, essentially, right? Just open your eyes. To understand what this means, the Medrash says, Ata akum HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, now I will arise. Kol zman shehi muchpeses ba'afar kiviyachol, all the while that the Shechina is covered in dust. So that's Galus. When the day will finally arrive, when it says Hisnari, shake off the dust, arise, Shvi Yerushalayim, the captives of Yerushalayim, ba'oisei haskol basar b'pnei Hashem. The pasuk in Zechariah says, all flesh will shake before Hashem. Lama. Why? Ki na'ar mi ba'ayin kacha, because the Kodesh Baruch has awakened, so to speak, and has arisen from Ma'in Kadshay, from his holy abode. Amar Rav Acha, Kada Tarnegolta, like this chicken, Timanana Garma Min Kitma, which shakes itself off of all the dust on top of its back. Umavur, what's the nimshal? Shikamai b'mishala Tarnegoiles, and here he says such a deep thing. It's important to keep this visual in mind when we come to Lecha Dodi tomorrow night. Or by the way, I'll be leading the Kabach Minyan in Golders Green if anybody's interested. Be'ezus Hashem. I'm happy to give details. I'll send them out. So when we're going to sing Hisnari me afar kumi, Kimoi b'mishala tarnegolis, just like the rooster. If you wanted to come and cleanse off the sand or the dust or the dirt from his feathers, achas la'achas, like picking each grain of sand, let's say, or dust off of each feather, yichla azman v'hem ala yichlu. Like, forget it. It's endless. When the Tarnegoilis stands up and in one swift motion shakes itself and all the dust comes off, in a few seconds, everything is shaken away. That's what's being referred to in the Nimshal, when this will come to an end. Hashchina begalusa. This is what the Nimshal is about the Shechina in Galus when comes Shabbos. It's not detail by detail, slowly but surely, some intellectual process of recognizing and thinking, okay, I'm resting because God rested. What did he rest from? He created the world. Okay, there's a creator of the world. And Shabbos is an ois, beini abein b'nei Yisrael. It's not speck of sand by speck of sand, dust by dust, feather by feather. It's a storm. It's hisna'ari me afar. You come Kabbalah Shabbos, it's in one Hashra, you're just in one moment of gilui, of revelation. It's as if the earth is stripped of all of its garments, all of its layers, and you see the bare Elokus that's been there all along, and it happens in one fell swoop. This is what Kabbalah Shabbos is meant to be. Lecha Dodi, in that moment you look around and the people that you thought that you were davening mincha with 5 minutes ago, they're not the same people that you walked into shul with. And the benches that you're sitting at, or the tables and the chairs, everything's different. Everything's the same. But gewalt, everything's different. This is the Tarnegolta that shakes itself off. His snari me'afar, kumi. There's an incredible gilui of yearning and clarity and consciousness, like an explosion that's taking place. That's a taste of what Am Yisrael are going to experience at the time of the Gula. The same thing what the Navi is calling them the end of time, which is literally now. In our dar. In our dar is the time when the Nevi'im were talking to us. That's what we mean when we say in Shemona Esrei, V'sechazena eineinu b'shuvcha l'tziyim barachamim. It's redundant or superfluous. Why does it need to say V'sechazena eineinu, that our eyes should see b'shuvcha l'tziyim barachamim when we come back to Tzion? If it's gonna happen, you'll see it. And if you're not gonna see it, then it's not happening. And the answer is, it could happen, and there will still be those that are mamish not seeing it. To me, there are two kinds of Yidden. Chas v'shalom, not judging, just recognizing. There are the Yidden that consider this moment in time to be no different than any other moment in the 2,000 years of exile before us, where, just like they waited for Mashiach, we wait for Mashiach, zeh. And there are the Yidden that are sensitive enough to be able to sense and to understand that today is completely different. And the mashma'us of that, the implication of that, is that everything has to be different, that the davening needs to be different, and the learning needs to be different, both in quality, quantity, and in the kind of learning, v'chule, and the language about Hashem needs to be different, and our ways of thinking need to be different, because everything's changed. This is it. The Lubavitcher Rebbe went so far as to say that not only was his generation, or our general generation, Dar Achron Shal Galus, he already called it Dar Rishon Legula. He already called it the first Dar of the redemption mamish. Hey, the first generation of the redemption. Everything's different. And when we spoke 2 weeks ago about the Umas Ha'olam, right? Remember we spoke about this? This is only language that's intelligible to people that understand that we need a completely different language today. And the schools haven't caught up. And the shuls largely haven't caught up, but there are Yidden that are living in this way. There are, and it's not just a different kind of teaching. So that Yaakov Klein, is moving to London to teach Chassidus, because Chassidus is missing, and maybe there are, Baruch Hashem, a whole spectrum of different Jewish studies, and there's one area of Torah that is not really being offered so much. So it's a whole different, I'd say approach, but it's not, I don't know, what's the language? It's a whole different Yiddishkeit, b'chlal. Not a different kind of learning or a different chelik in Torah. It's a completely different awareness, consciousness, way of engaging with all of Yiddishkeit. And this is what it is. So it's when he says Le'es HaGeula, this is our dar. It is time to wake up. It is time to mamish wake up from gullus ways of thinking, from gullus ways of avodas Hashem, from gullus ways of feeling so hopeless, and it's time to kumi ayri, with chizuk and with hope and with confidence, with clarity and with vision and confidence. He had power, strength. His snari me afar kumi, like in one fell swoop, we can from 1 minute to the next. It's time to move into gadlus, with a Torah of gadlus hamoichin, with perspectives of gadlus, perspectives of courage, new ways of thinking, new arenas of avodas Hashem, new vistas of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu in quality, quantity, and every other metric. Livshi bigdei sefartech ami. It's time to look beautiful again. It's time that on the outside it's apparent, not just the pintaliyah that we know every Yid has. It's time to let it loose. David HaMelech is called Al Yad Ish Ben Partzi. What does Partzi mean? Lashon Pritzas, in a sense. Obviously, it's not what it means, right? But that is what it means. Pritzas, it means it explodes, right? It explodes all beyond all boundaries. That's right, Paratz. Peretz, to break through. That's the energy of Mashiach. Breaking through. That it shouldn't anymore be what the Gemara bemoans, and with this will end, what the Gemara bemoans, that since the time of the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, Ein La Kodesh Baruch Hu Ela Daled Amos Shalalacha Bolvad, which according to some Mefarshim isn't something that ought to be celebrated, it's something that ought to be mourned. They're saying that this is what Galus means, that Ein La Kodesh Baruch Hu Ela Daled Amos Shalalacha Bolvad, that we've stopped seeing Hashem in every minute of life, at the office, and in a conversation, and in our leisure time, and in our relationships, and in our ambitions. V'chulei v'chayena, Nebuch HaKadosh Baruch Hu stuck in the Daled Amos Shalalacha. That's Galus. Ben Partzi means completely different Gilui. Geula. It's Ein Oid Movadai. Is Umala Aretz Deas Hashem Kamayim Li'amachasim. Umala Haaretz Dea. The earth, the physical, the mundane, the corporeal, the technology. Again, in a healthy way. V'chule, everything that there is. This is the Ar of Geula. So, what a privilege! I'm so privileged to be among those who are learning this kind of Torah, to be among those who are able to, hopefully in some small way, give it over, and to be a part of a Baruch Hashem growing Chabura, that this is not even scratching the surface of what needs to happen, where Chaver stand up and recognize it's time for something different, it's time for something else, and to be good ambassadors of this, in our own avodah, in our own davening, in our own learning, in our own way of looking at the world, right, with eyes of wonder, in our own relationships. It's transformative. It's a Torah's Chaim. It's tzaddik be'emunah yichya. Shibizaycha be'ezus Hashem, l'chaim.